was the first woman, I have to mention, that was ever elected to the Lakewood Township Committee, and the first woman to ever serve as mayor. That's an honor that I'm really very proud of. And I believe I'm still the only woman who's ever served on Township Committee. Steve, anybody speaking when I wasn't looking? And I look forward to, once again, I look forward to being the second woman who was elected on the Lakewood Township Committee. When I left, I decided not to run for a third term because I felt that things were moving in the right direction, and I don't think politicians should stay in office forever. I think it's public service is just that. I enjoyed my 2 terms on the committee, but it was time to move on and give somebody else a chance. But in the last 2 years, I feel we're beginning to move in the wrong direction. Taxes seem to be higher than ever. Once again, traffic seems out of control, and people once again don't feel represented and treated fairly by the government. So I decided to throw my hat back into the ring and run again for Township Committee.
As you know, as you know, taxes are very important to the senior citizens.
And the junior citizens too, by the way.
Okay. During this past budget crisis, one of the Township Committee members voted no to the current tax rate, but voted for a tax increase. And I'm just wondering, that was one of your party members, and I'm just wondering if you would follow that suit as long as your party line, or will you really be out for the seniors and the people of Lakewood?
As I said, I mean, there's an old saying that there is no Democratic or Republican way to fix a pothole. There are certainly important ideological differences between the Democratic and the Republican Party, which I'd be glad to discuss with you in another forum. When it comes to governing a town, a local town of Lakewood, or any town for that matter, what matters is that you look at the specific issues. You know, Barack Obama doesn't know whether or not Route 9 whether it's more important to widen Route 9 or detour traffic onto New Hampshire. These are local issues. Whether or not a specific budget should be passed, whether or not a specific expenditure should be approved, is something that I would make up my own mind on, not follow the party line.
I'd like to continue about the taxes. Over 50% of our property taxes go to schools. Nobody in here has a dog in the race. So we're giving you 50% of our taxes, and we're getting nothing in return for that money. How do you plan to rectify that situation?
You're not going to like the answer, but I'm a blunt person and I tell the truth, which is the Township Committee, and me as a member of the Township Committee, could not directly change the funding system for the school system. That's something that's under the control of the state legislature. I will tell you that in the past, both as a private citizen and as a Township Committee people, I have worked to correct the funding formula, which I believe gives Lakewood an unfair share of the resources from the state. As you may know, a lot of the income taxes that we pay come back to the district as school aid. Lakewood gets far less than its fair share of the school aid, and we as local taxpayers have to make up the difference out of our property taxes. That's not right. I would continue to lobby Trenton and put together senior coalitions and citizen coalitions to try and get that changed. However, the Township Committee does not have the right to say seniors don't have to pay the taxes. It's law as of now. What we have a right to do as citizens and as elected officials is try and change that law in Trenton where the law is made.
Well, what I could say is that it does make a difference if you work closely with the Board of Ed and try to help them. You know, like there was recently, Carl and the mayor worked together on a joint venture where the Township Committee had the Public Works do some road work for the Board of Ed properties, and I thought that was a very smart move. They did it at cost, so the township was the one that gained, and ultimately the taxpayer. And another thing that I could say is that I trust the current board, some of the members of the current board, to Board of Ed, to keep looking for ways to cut, and if the budget keeps growing, at some point, if I was on the committee, I would say that I'm not approving that budget. Unless, I mean, if we had a pristine school district where the kids were all passing, that would be another story, but the system, the way it is right now, I would say that we would have to turn down the school budget at some point.
Just so everyone understands, if we turn down the school budget and the school board appeals, you have to be careful because eventually it goes to the state, which is a history of restoring some of the funding that taxpayers may have reduced. One of the things that you can do as a taxpayer is vote for people from your community on the school board. The school board has direct control of the school budget. I think Carl will tell you it's not an easy animal to control, and you should all thank him for taking on the responsibility. But the property tax problem in Lakewood and New Jersey will not be completely solved until the school funding formula is corrected, and we all have to work together to make that happen.
Earlier, Mark, you said... we got a question back here. Could you wait? I'll come up to the mic in a second.
I have a question for either. Were either one of you at the smart growth meeting that we had in the summer there? And did you look at the plan?
No, I did not attend the smart growth.
I wasn't there, but I did see the plan.
All right. You'll notice there that it was mostly like the schools, there was, I think, 3 schools in the plan. And I'm not too sure I understand that that's smart growth because it really focused on one community. And there was some space there for like a park or something like that. But the way it was set up, that wasn't going to benefit the rest of the town because it was a sort of a closed community. I mean, that's what it seemed like to me. And I don't know if that's called smart growth. There was no affordable housing in there. There was nothing in there that the rest of the community could take advantage of. So I was just wondering if you noticed the same thing.
But one of the things that, there are hundreds of, can you hear me back there without the mic?
Yeah.
It's open. There were hundreds of affordable housing units, I think well over 1,000 affordable housing units that were put up in various areas of town.
But not in that particular smart growth community.
I think he's referring to the Southwest Corridor piece that was just approved by the planning board, by the zoning board on Cross and Prospect, and not the entire
Okay,
smart growth.
see, my main goal with this piece of property over here, my main goal was I don't know who came to the 2006 master plan meetings, but my main goal was there was a 75-acre tract that was up for very high density housing, and my main goal over there was to prevent that from happening, which I did do, and I turned the board on that, and I had them cancel it out. They were trying to build 16 acres per unit, which quick math would be 300-400 units on just 25 acres of that property, and I ended up getting something around 160 a few years later because I fought that, and that was my number one goal, was to assure that the 75 acres don't turn into 16 units per acre, because I thought it was very, very dense, and it's privately owned land. In other words, a school owns some of the land, and various investors own the rest of the land.
Public schools?
No, private.
Private schools own the land themselves. In other words, it's not our land, it's not the township land. It's privately owned land, and we tried to control the development that was going on there, and because I've been in contact with members of your community, and we've been in close touch, and we did deny a lot of areas over there. Bill Hobday was very involved in the approval, and my understanding is that he was in contact with the Fairways as well, to make sure that there isn't too much density over there. I think what ended up happening is that the 25 acres that did get approved got approved for less than 10 units per acre, which is a lot less than the original 16 that they were trying for, and the other 50 acres is supposed to be set for lower density as well.
But there was going to be 2 schools in that area.
Right, but
Private schools.
But we're trying to limit what those private schools can do as well. In other words, we are concerned
We
about.
seem to have a lot of private schools in Lakewood. I read in the paper one time it was 70. There's probably even more now because it's going on Massachusetts.
There's 2 on Massachusetts, and we're trying to work on buffering setbacks to as time goes on.
That affects our taxes also because you're taking those properties off of the tax rolls. So can we limit that in some way? I mean, that would also be smart growth, it seems to me.
Excuse me, the one problem you have with HD6 and HD7 properties, a lot of other things could have been built there, which none of us would have liked.
Well, give me an example.
I would rather not in public forum.
What?
You could have had 55 building, 55 foot,
But Carl, you see what they're building back here? Is that smart growth?
yeah. You could have had, you could have had 55 foot buildings in one area with, you know, numerous floors and so forth. Just figure it out, how many people could have been there. So, it's very, very difficult when you're looking to build. Building goes on.
Carl, I'm gonna cut you because of the candidates.
Good.